Multnomah County's efforts to move people into housing doesn't show the whole story. And big waves in Seattle as the Mariners scuttle their skipper.
This has not been a terrific run for us over the last 2 months.
Who's now being tapped to help right the ship. Well, a very good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm David Mulco. Just over a month after President Joe Biden stepped aside and passed the torch to his vice president, Kamala Harris officially accepted the Democratic nomination for the White House. Harris, greeted by a raucous crowd on the final night of the Democratic National Convention at Chicago's United Center, spoke for just under 40 minutes, her central theme charting a new path forward, as she urged Americans to reject political divisions while warning of the consequences of a second Trump term.
And we know what a second Trump term would look like. It's all laid out in Project 2025, written by his closest advisors, and its sum total is to pull our country back to the past. But America, we are not going back. We are not going back.
Well, the vice president also touched on the economy, border security, and commitments to allies abroad, trying to find a middle ground of sorts on issues like immigration and the war between Israel and Hamas. She also pledged to restore reproductive freedoms.
He plans to create a national anti-abortion coordinator and force states to report on women's miscarriages and abortions. Simply put, they are out of their minds.
Harris and her VP pick. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz will now return to the campaign trail with just 75 days until Election Day. Harris will face Trump in about 2.5 weeks in their first presidential debate on September 10th in Philadelphia. Well, meanwhile, former President Donald Trump was in Arizona today, where he visited the U.S.-Mexico border. Trump reiterating pledges to shut down the border to migrants and to deport millions of people. He also said this about Vice President Harris ahead of her remarks in Chicago.
She will never build the wall. She doesn't want to build the wall. She's only saying if she changes her mind, it's only because she wants to get elected, because who wouldn't want to have a strong border? You need strong borders and strong elections.
Well, meanwhile, the New York Times is reporting tonight that an organization supporting rioters charged in the January 6th Capitol attack will be holding a legal fundraiser at Trump's private golf club in New Jersey next month. Trump is listed as an invited guest, though so far has not accepted an invitation to speak. Trump will hold campaign events in Las Vegas and near Phoenix on Friday. On your headlines tonight, a person is dead and 2 people are in the hospital after a crash on Washington State Route 14 in Camas. This began late this morning when a manufactured home being transported on a flatbed got stuck trying to cross the narrow bridge between Camas and Washougal. That caused a traffic backup, and according to Washington State Patrol, a driver tried to make a U-turn and then was hit by oncoming traffic. 7 cars were involved in the crash. The road was closed in both directions for several hours and reopened late this afternoon. In Cowlitz County, the coroner's office has identified the remains of a man found dead earlier this year. His body was discovered in a wooded area in Kelso off Old Pacific Highway South. Investigators say they used DNA to identify him as 21-year-old Miguel Lara Camacho of Pennsylvania. He was living in Longview when he went missing about a year ago. We still don't know how he died. And the Klamath Falls man accused of kidnapping a Seattle woman and holding her in a makeshift cell in his home appeared in federal court in Medford this week for a pre-trial hearing. Nagasi Zuberi faces charges that include felony kidnapping and attempted escape from jail. In court on Tuesday, he made a statement denouncing the government and police. Prosecutors also revealed that they seized journals in which Zuberi allegedly detailed plans to kidnap and imprison women to create a, quote, underground army of children. The judge overruled several motions by Zuberi's lawyer to dismiss the evidence. Trial is set for October. And Oregon's largest ski resort is for sale. Today, Powder Corp announcing it will be selling Mount Bachelor along with 2 resorts in Colorado and British Columbia. This comes as the Utah-based company announced the sale of 2 Vermont resorts in what it says is an effort to focus and diversify its business. Mount Bachelor is Central Oregon's second largest employer with more than 1,100 workers. Powder has owned that resort since 2001. Ashley?
makes me want to go back out there and ski, although it feels a little bit like fall outside right now. We've seen just a few scattered showers. Here's a look from our Wells Fargo camera right now. 67 degrees. That high today was 71. Now we expect temperatures to drop just a little bit here in the next day, but we couldn't go without showing you a quick shot of the coast. We had a beautiful sunset out there. One of the only places that isn't going to see very much rain coming up here in the next 24 hours or so. You'll notice that low sitting right off the coast, and you'll see that it's going counterclockwise, and that's why we're seeing this moisture push up from the south into the north. We've already seen some of these scattered showers over the Cascades, over Mount Hood, and we're going to continue to see these showers push up into the metro area, into southwest Washington, into Longview, into Seattle as well. So that should carry us through the next day or so. So you can wake up tomorrow and expect on that morning commute to see some wet roads out there. So plan accordingly for that. We could also see a chance for some thunderstorms over the Cascades. We'll talk more about that and how much rain we expect to get in our 7-day forecast. David.
Yeah, here comes the rain again. Thanks, Ashley. All right, new tonight, the FDA has just approved the newest COVID vaccine, marking the third time the vaccines have been updated to keep up with new strains. Alma McCarty is in the newsroom with what you need to know. Alma?
Well, David, tonight I spoke with the Oregon Health Authority about this approval, not unexpected by health officials. These are the mRNA vaccines from Moderna and from Pfizer that target a strain called KP2, circulating now and expected to ramp up in the fall and winter. So when will these vaccines be available and who should be getting them? Well, OHA says within weeks, not able to give a more specific timeline as to when they'll be ready at pharmacies here. And officials here agree with the CDC recommending everyone over 6 months get an updated COVID vaccine this year. Dr. Dean Seidlinger told me older adults, young children, people with underlying health conditions should consider getting the shot sooner rather than later, since it will take a couple of weeks to kick in. And he said this to folks feeling a bit skeptical.
I think for people that are on the fence and say, ooh, a new FDA vaccine, I'm going to wait. This is the same vaccine that we have been using for the past several years. It is updated to fight the some of the more recent variants, but the technology, the proven science behind this vaccine has been with us for several years.
Now, people who have recently contracted COVID should wait about 3 months to get the vaccine. We're going to have even more from Dr. Seidlinger coming up at 11. David?
Hey, thank you, Alma. Well, we are learning more this evening about what appears to be progress in Multnomah County when it comes to helping people move into temporary housing. Though, as Blair Best reports, some say the numbers don't tell the whole story.
One could say Multnomah County is turning a corner on housing.
Multnomah County is on track. We're pointed in the right direction.
A recent county report shows more than 5,000 homeless people moved into permanent housing in the past year, with more than 7,000 entering shelter. Dan Field leads the county and city's Joint Office of Homeless Services.
We're seeing more people move into shelter than ever before. We're seeing people move into permanent housing, and we need to build on that success.
And it's all thanks to taxpayer dollars. You may have heard of the Supportive Housing Services Tax, which allocated millions of dollars to address homelessness. For the first time in recent years, the county found a way to spend it all.
And it took us a few years to ramp up the work and get to a point where we can confidently and, most importantly, effectively spend the dollars that the taxpayers are trusting us with.
That includes funding the team at Do Good Multnomah. They run more than a dozen programs, including tiny home villages and street outreach.
Without these funds, I can't even imagine where we'd be at as a city.
Yet as the county touts success, neighborhoods across Portland fight the crisis on their own.
It's been a very challenging summer for us on this block in particular.
Isaac Schmidt lives off Southeast Hawthorne Boulevard. These signs are an effort to deter homeless camps.
Almost every day for the past 2 months we've had open drug use. So we come out of the house and you can smell fentanyl in the air.
There's a lot more to this homelessness than you realize.
Pam is one of the homeless people staying in Isaac's neighborhood.
I know there's a lot of us out here that would like to get help.
But shelter for people like her, she says, is hard to find.
You need to be referred, and to get a referral, if you're like me and you're new and you haven't been homeless a long time, you don't just know this stuff.
And it wears on her.
When you're having to do your meals and I'm gonna start crying, to bathe and it's really hard, you know.
We know there's still a crisis on our streets and our communities of homelessness, and this is really just a progress report, not a final report. A lot of work ahead of us.
Blair Best, KGW News.
New tonight, a new documentary is taking a closer look at mental health challenges for pilots with a focus on the incident over Oregon when an off-duty pilot allegedly tried to bring down an Alaska Airlines flight. You might remember last October, pilot Joseph Emerson was riding in a cockpit jump seat from Everett to San Francisco. He says what came next was caused in part by hallucinogenic mushrooms he'd taken to help him deal with depression. Here's a clip from the documentary trailer from the New York Times and FX.
I remember having this feeling like, am I alive? In my mind, I was fighting for that reality. I grabbed the only two things that are in my eyesight that I think are gonna wake me up. Shut off handles.
Well, that flight landed safely in Portland. Emerson is currently out on bail and faces charges of interfering with an aircraft and reckless endangerment. The documentary, called Lie to Fly, looks at mental health protocols for pilots and calls for reform. It premieres Friday on Hulu. Long-awaited safety improvements to Portland's notorious 82nd Avenue are now one step closer to becoming a reality. Today, city and state leaders joined PBOT to break ground on the first phase of the $185 million project. It calls for improvements to a 2.5-mile stretch near McDaniel High and the Jade District, among the most dangerous corridors in the city for both drivers and pedestrians. It includes repaving and complete road reconstruction in some spots, new or improved traffic signals and pedestrian crossings, bus stops, sidewalks and driveways, plus nearly 200 new trees.
It took a century to make this road so dangerous. With our work today and for the days to come, 82nd Avenue will be a safer place for generations to come.
Well, you can expect to see some lane and sidewalk closures through the fall and the winter. Straight ahead on KGW News, parents say their goodbyes as the University of Portland welcomes the class of 2028. And the new leader of Oregon's biggest school district has a message for families as Portland kids and teens get ready to head back to school.
Different emotions. Yeah, very, very excited for him, but at the same time, just knowing the day-to-day is going to be a little different is definitely kind of hit us.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't hit till they drive away. A really bittersweet moment for families at the University of Portland today on move-in day for first-year students. Hundreds of members of the incoming class of 2028 moved into the dorm, starting the next exciting chapter of their lives. Meanwhile, younger students are also getting ready to grab their backpacks and head back to the classroom. Portland Public School teachers returned to campus yesterday to get ready for next week's opening day. Today, Christine Pitawanish sat down with the district's new superintendent, Dr. Kimberly Armstrong. Last year, you might remember, was a challenging one there, beginning with the teacher strike in the fall, followed by disruptions caused by the crippling ice storm. Armstrong says despite challenges, including around funding, she has confidence in the quality of the district's programs.
I want people to know that I believe in Portland. I believe in the power of education that can happen here at Portland. I believe in our schools. I believe in our teachers. I know that we have quality programs and that we have the services to meet students where they're at.
Well, the first day of school for most students in Portland is next Tuesday, with the remainder returning on Wednesday. We are just hours away from the start of the mother of all relays. It is Hood to Coast, of course, and the KGW News Flash team, love the name, put the finishing touches on its van this afternoon. Our own Alma McCarty, you just heard her reporting about COVID vaccines, plus Evan Watson and John Goodwin. Mr. Let's Get Out There himself will be out there along with several others. They'll be joining 19,000 runners who will make their way from Timberline on Mount Hood, down and across, and then up to Seaside on the Oregon coast. Even if you're not involved in the race, you'll want to be on the lookout. Runners will start on the mountain, make their way down Highway 26 through Sandy, with several exchange points, like one in southeast Portland along the way. The bulk of the teams will be heading through the city tomorrow afternoon and evening. Give them a cheer, watch out for them on the roads, and then they go through the Coast Range and out to the beach, where the race wraps up on Saturday. Let's bring in Ashley Grams in for Matt. Now, the wild card, I guess it's not really a wild card. We know it's going to rain. The question is when and how much, right?
Right. I think everyone needs to be prepared, especially if you're heading out to run this. I mean, as exciting as it is, right? You just always don't know what's quite around the corner.
Dry clothes, whatever you do to run in the rain, to be ready after to change, right?
I'm not a runner, right? But
we'll ask Alma. She'll have a few tips for us here.
Exactly. She was amazing. Last year, I got to talk to her right as she headed off from her first leg.
It was
super fun. She was out of breath, and kudos to her for going on live TV.
She and I were talking about this actually. She was grateful that she was not going to be in an exchange point where she could be interviewed mid-run or end of run again.
We can't snag her this time,
but
right?
You did great.
Well, we'll take you outside right now. Actually, we're going to start with that Hood to Coast forecast, because we are going to see that rain continue here through the night into those early morning hours. So if you are a runner, or if you know someone who's running, if you're going out to cheer someone on, I would say, again, bring that raincoat with you. And we could see those showers even all the way into Saturday at Seaside as well. It's going to be fairly chilly for this time of year, so be prepared. We'll take you up live right now to Timberline Lodge, and you can see where that rain has already started here on our camera. This is where runners will be kicking off tomorrow in just a few hours. So 44 degrees up there right now. Well, here's our radar. We've been tracking this here for the past day or so. There's a low right off the coast, and it's bringing all of this moisture south to north. So we're continuing to see these showers move into the metro area here in the next few hours. I know we've already seen some of those scattered showers, and we've already seen just a few chances for thunderstorms over the Cascades as well. So let's walk through that together. We do have Futurecast here to tell us when the bulk of these storms are coming through. Many of those showers started right around 8 p.m. tonight if you're outside the metro area, and then as we get into the next few hours, that's when we see things start to ramp up. And you can see that trail of moisture just continue to move through as we get to those early morning hours on Friday. That's what we expect throughout the day. So if you're thinking about what you're going to do tomorrow, if you're thinking about the commute, expect the road to be wet. Give yourself extra time if you need to. So those showers coming through all the way into Friday afternoon and Friday night. That's when you can start to see things start to taper off and we see a change. So if you're thinking, do I need to change my weekend weekend plans? I don't think so. I don't think Saturday is going to be a washout. You can see we're hitting 68 degrees, and then we start to see the warm up on Sunday. 78 degrees on Sunday and partly cloudy. Well, where does this kind of set us in the framework of August? How much rainfall have we seen? Well, we're pretty much right on par. But with this rain coming through here in the next 24 hours or so, we could actually double this amount. So when we look at the models, you can see most of those models are sitting right around 1/4 inch of rain in Portland, but some of the models on the heavier side are actually talking about getting up to 1/2 inch of rain. But where the most of this rain is sitting is right in the Cascades. You can see that Skamania County getting 1 inch of rain, a lot less on the coast. So those of you that are headed out to Seaside to cheer on those hood to coast runners, you might just be in the very best place for this weekend. Here's a look at that 7-day forecast. Again, we talked about Friday and Saturday being the days that the rain is going to taper off. But as we head into Sunday, that's when we start to see that change. We start to see the sun come out, and then we go back into those summer-like temperatures. So all those kids going back to school, it's actually not going to be that cold.
I know, right at time, right? It is still summer for another month or so. You know, when you said, you know, we're talking about Friday night forecast into Saturday, I think I heard some cheers upstairs because some of the KGW team, I think, are sleeping so they can leave early, get up to the mountain. When you said, you know what, it's going to dry out at the end of Friday, because Friday into Saturday night, who wants to be running overnight in the Coast Range with the rain coming down? I heard those cheers.
Right.
Yeah,
it's hard to imagine because none of us are ready to run. You can tell right now.
I mean, we definitely going to be cheering them on, though, right?
Definitely.
All right, you've got some big news.
Yeah, you don't win, you gotta blame the coach.
Uh-oh.
That's definitely happening in Seattle. Plus, one of the biggest nights of the season in Rip City, the latest on the Trailblazers honoring one of the greatest of all time.
Looking forward to that. First, a quick reminder, though, the KGW School Supply Drive is going strong. You can help local kids and teens out by donating at the register of any Safeway or Albertsons. Keep in mind your donations stay local and support your neighborhood school district. If you'd rather shop and drop it off, that is, we have our last 2 collection events. They are tomorrow at the On Point Lloyd Center branch from 11 to 2. And then on Saturday, KGW will be at the Timbers game. That's looking good weather-wise. We'll be at Gate F, as in football, before kickoff. We want to thank On Point Community Credit Union, Safeway, and Rick's Custom Fencing for everything they are doing to make this year's school supply drive a huge success. And of course, our thanks to you.
'24, just in general, not kind to pro coaches in Seattle. The Seahawks, the Kraken, and now you can add the Mariners to the list. Firing manager Scott Service today. According to the Seattle Times, Service found out on social media that he was out. This comes after quite the collapse. Back in June, they had a 10-game lead in the division. Today, they're 5 games back. A 1-8 road trip was the last straw. Service spent 9 years with the club and is the second winningest manager in franchise history. Mariners president Jerry DiPoto on why it was time for the change.
This has not been a terrific run for us over the last 2 months, and it was a very difficult decision to make, but I thought one that our team was in need of, and we need a different voice and a different direction, and I think that can be provided by Dan Wilson.
Yeah, and just like that, Dan Wilson is the Mariners' new manager, not interim, the manager. Wilson played more than a decade with the M's. He's had numerous roles within the organization, but this will be his first time managing in the big leagues. Wilson takes over a club sporting a 64-64 record with 34 games left this season. The Portland Trail Blazers announced a few key dates for the upcoming season, headlined by a special night in March. The Blazers will honor the legendary Bill Walton on March 9th at the Moda Center. Walton, one of the greatest players in franchise history, passed away from cancer in May. Portland hosts Detroit on March 9th. Walton's son, Luke, is currently an assistant coach with the Pistons. More details on the celebration to come. Oregon Ducks legend Sabrina Ionescu making a guest appearance last night on Late Night with Seth Meyers, talking ball, her new sneakers with Nike, and her first Olympics, winning gold in Paris.
I had the time of my life.
Right.
My whole family came. Just being able to enjoy the city, see other athletes, going to other events. It was so fun.
That's
something
wonderful.
You can't even really put into words. Opening ceremonies was something that I will forever remember.
And Ionescu is balling this season. She's the leading scorer for the New York Liberty, the best team in the WNBA right now. Ionescu missed the last couple of games due to a neck injury, but most reports say it isn't serious, and she is expected to play in their next game. So she's living it up right now.
Well, congratulations to her again. It's so funny because the Olympics seemed so long ago with the DNC this week and everything, but it wasn't, right?
Yeah, it's two different worlds, but yeah, for sure.
Right, no kidding. All right, let's talk about the weekend again.
Right, we're heading into some rain. I'm sure you guys have seen the clouds outside right now. We're expecting those scattered showers to continue into tomorrow. So Friday looks a little bit more fall-like. If you've been following the fall pattern, well, we're seeing Starbucks come out with their fall drinks today. It's time to celebrate, right? And then we head back into summer later this week.
I don't know about celebrate on that. I keep thinking it's Friday. It's not Friday. Coming up tonight at 11, an accidental discovery in eastern Washington, thousands of years in the making, the rare bones that are giving us a glimpse into the past and inspiring the scientists of the future. It's coming up at 11. If we don't see you then, happy Thursday, Friday Eve.